Hello, welcome everyone. It's Dr. Micah Hamilton, and I'm the co-founder of Appear on Zoe Corporation. Today, we continue our epigenetic human performance series with something that everyone is going to want to hear and then do more of a deep dive into. Joining me today is Laura DiBenedetto. Laura is a TEDx speaker, #1 best-selling author of The 6 Habits. Laura teaches how to create the life of our dreams without sacrificing what we love. As founder and CEO of Vision Advertising, she assists conscious corporations to build and grow more profitable. She lives in Maui. One of the very cool things about Laura is that she was awarded one of the 40 under 40 at the young age of 23. Her first business was at 19. And she's been an entrepreneur, I would say, all of her life. She's been featured in many local media in Boston, also on Fox News. And so Laura is joining us today to talk about her new book. And this is also her TEDx topic, is The 6 Habits. So Laura, I'm going to turn it over to you to share a little more of yourself with us, and then really move into the impactful nature of really simplistic steps to begin to redesign the future now that we would all like to create. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It is really, really awesome to spend some time with you. I'm always excited to be able to talk about habit, and specifically with you, because you and I have such a synchronous approach to what we're trying to create in the world. And the thing that I really love is to operate from a baseline understanding that we are already whole, complete, and amazing. And with some adjustments, with some tweaks, we can return to that state of supreme excellence and the best expression of ourselves. So through the 6 habits, I fixed my own life. I started my business like you said at 19, and then I retired at 37. Theoretically, one should be happy when they retire and fire themselves at 37, except I wasn't. I was just burnt out and cranky and probably no fun to be around. And that really wasn't working for me. Like, I didn't even enjoy being around me. And that was really like wow, this is not okay. So I started figuring out, what is happiness really? Because I feel like society and culture tells us it's in the next car, it's in the fancy handbag, or it's in the big house or the fat bank account. And all those things are nice and they can certainly help, but that is not really success or health or happiness. It's all from within. I needed to figure out the reliable recipe, if you will, for creating what that happiness genuinely is, how to create it every time. Because as it turns out, I am remarkably stubborn and I needed something that was Laura proof. So it wasn't suitable enough for me to just be like, oh, well, I'm just going to read a book and that will solve all my problems. I really wanted to just be done with it once and for all. So I did the research to figure out what it would take to just be done with it once and for all, and finally achieve that baseline level of happiness, massive internal success and joy, and really be the fullest, best expression of self that I always wanted to be. So I geeked out on the research, learned about the science of habit, psychology, human behavior, did some trials, and here we are with the 6 habits, not the 6 epiphanies, because your habits actually determine who you are and the life you live, right? Like, do you have cavities in your teeth? It's probably because you don't floss and other genetic factors. But your habits currently have gotten you to where you are and who you are. But if you wish to have more, feel better, live better, you need to do different things. And that's where the 6 habits come in.
And so what would you say is the beginning of the awareness of your habits that may be showing up in ways that you're no longer okay with?
I think the awareness oftentimes can come through, and that's such a good question. I'm a big fan of just saying self-awareness, but Where does that come from? I like to look at the real genesis of something, right? And I would say in this, sometimes it'll be external things like our spouse saying to us, wow, you're really grumpy. What is your problem? Or your kids saying, like, Mom, how come you're never around and you're always tired? Or your friends being like, you sure you need that fifth glass of wine? You sure? Like sometimes it's others pointing out that our behavior may not be aligning with who we are expressing or trying to be, or things are starting to break down. Why are things at work so difficult? Why am I having a hard time with this? And why is this so damn hard? Why am I fighting with my spouse? Why do I feel like crap all the time? Why do I feel like I always come last in my own life? Well, my friend, here is the mirror. It's you. You've built your life. Nobody else.
And this is the epigenetics of habit, of pattern, of somewhat programming that's gone into our construct over time, and then the actions that we've taken based on that. And so I love that we're going to be able to look at some of how that external environment feeds those patterns back to us, as you said, through everyone and everything around us, if we're in enough awareness to actually want to see them. And then beyond that, right, taking action on what we're seeing. So tell us more about the 6 habits.
Sure. So at first glance, and I know you've been reading my book, which I love, it's entirely likely that someone might take a look at the 6 habits and be like, oh, well, this is simple. This is kid stuff. If it's so simple, you'd be doing it and mastering it already. The thing is, the habits themselves are simple in name, but they're actually quite complicated when it comes to our ability to actually overcome the patterns we've been living in for years. So I'll tell you what the 6 habits are. And Mikra, you've already read about the habits, so you understand what I'm saying when I tell you they're kind of simple at the outset, right? Kindness to ourselves seems so obvious. And yet we all default to being big, fat jerks to ourselves without even realizing it. We're like, oh, I'm kind to myself. No, you're not.
Right.
Because you're probably thinking like, oh, well, if you don't succeed at this, you're a failure. Yeah, okay. So kindness is 1, acceptance is number 2. That's radical, unconditional self-love. Gratitude, way beyond the 10 little ideas of gratitude that you take to bed with you every night, which by the way, do that. It's good.
Yes.
But this is like it's a gratitude lifestyle. It's like the lens that you view your life through. Presence, and I have ADHD, so I freely admit this one's a little tougher for me because it's like, ooh, shiny thing. And then you've got goodness, which is energy management, adding more good, subtracting the bad, and the habit of intention, which you are a boss with. The intention can often be something to do with like a lot of masculine energy, creating, forcing, pushing, building, creating, but it's also a lot of the allowance, it's the clarity, it's the path of least resistance, it's the path of efficiency. So, when I outline these 6 habits, they actually do seem very either simple or obvious to some people, and I appreciate that. Where it gets hard is in recognizing the feedback that we're getting from others, from the world, even just through having to effort too much at something. And it's like, why is this so hard? It's probably you, honey. That's probably why.
It's always us, right?
Yeah. And I say this with no judgment because I was a ninja at firmly being my own blockage. Yay. So I am so done with that. Thank God. But when you start getting a lot of this feedback from life, things being hard, our spouses pointing things out to us, our children pointing things out to us, mommy, you're grumpy, or like even friends, or in my case, your mom, honey, you got some really big bags under your eyes. Are you sleeping enough? Thanks, mom. Got some luggage, right? So it's like you see these little things and you sometimes perceive it as like people picking on you or, nitpicking or this or that. But it's like, no, 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 no. Don't take it personally. Take several steps back with love, grace, and kindness to yourself and be like, I might actually need to look at myself and look at what I'm doing to show up this way. And this is where we can begin to unravel the mystery of the incredible relationship that we truly need with ourselves, because
Mhm.
that is the secret to incredible success across life.
And when we have the experience of the feedback from the field, and we know that we're creating it, and that our thoughts, our habits, our actions or reactions, as opposed to responses to that input from the environment. So for me, I say, okay, what information am I bringing to myself today, mostly in this moment? What am I seeing? And then that information is actually what guides me to my next step in the day. So I'm not too far ahead in my day. I'm pretty much present, see the feedback. I ask it, I'm very auditory. I ask it, what is this? If I can't tell instantly,
Right.
what is this information designed to bring me right now? And
Mhm.
then I kind of move through my life that way. Haven't always. And
Doesn't it take courage to ask those questions and to actually be willing to receive the answer and look at what it is?
right, as you said, to get out of your own way and recognize that we're our own best motivator, cheerleader, designer. And what am I designing for myself right now? Because you can feel when, like I had a tone being a colonel, right, and telling, basically leading, which equals telling in the military mostly, even if it's kind, it's still telling.
Yep.
What you should do is, or please do this now, kind of like that. But I had a tone in my voice that my boys, their little faces would crumple when I would speak in that way to them. And my husband said, "Do you recognize that that's actually crumpling or contracting them, and they're getting to where they don't want to share openly with you?" And so that feedback allowed us to set up a strategy of, my ego at the time was kind of big. And so it couldn't be like, "Mommy, you're saying that again." It was like this, it was like a harmonic, like they would do this thing that let me know that that tone was in my voice. And so I was able to stop, restate it, say, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I meant to say it this way," soften my voice so that what I was transmitting was more along the lines of what I actually meant to transmit, as opposed to what my unconscious unawareness
Mhm.
didn't allow me to even hear in my own voice.
And all of that began with you. It began with courage within, and also the bravery to be vulnerable and actually be flawed in front of your children. And where does that bravery come from? Massive work on yourself so you can have this powerful relationship with you. You can't have truly powerful transformations or transformative relationships with life, with money, with others, if you don't have one with yourself first. You might have some accidental wins, and those are great. But if you want to actually replicate it and create predictable success with your children, with your spouse, with your company, you need predictable, formulaic approach with yourself too.
And so you would say that the primary foundation of a life of your choosing, a life of your dreams or your desires, uh,
Hmm.
would be self first,
Yeah.
interior contemplation, and then action. And then would you also agree that the external environment often then very quickly realigns with that interior new expression?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes, what you'll get is sometimes you'll get alignments that don't feel positive, but they really are. Like
Mhm.
friends that fall away because you've changed. Well, it's because they're used to victimizing you and they don't get to do that anymore. And maybe you shouldn't mourn the loss of that friendship after all, because it's like a gangrenous limb falling off. It's got to go. Um, it's it's nice when you see things line up. Like, in my case, I was, oh my God, I was so grumpy. It was almost tragic. Like, I worked so hard to achieve all this external success, and because I did it because I thought, oh, that will make me happy. I'll be happy when.
Right.
So much of us do that, right?
Mhm.
But I had gotten there, and I was not able to perceive anything that I had achieved with any level of gratitude, no pride. It was it was a very abysmal view, to be honest with you. And I was able to notice that once I worked on me, my marriage just got better. My husband was treating me better because, unbeknownst to me, I was just treating him better and I was just showing up better. I was having a better relationship with my parents, with my friends. I was operating from a place of like greater vulnerability, which turns out others really like. And it just invited people closer. And you know what? You and I were talking about this before we hit record here. And I just really think this is so awesome to bring this up. So I retired at 37, which was great, right? I'm 39 now. And my successor, the woman that took over for me, got cancer, which is awful. And she's been out for the last 2 months. So I had to briefly unretire while she's recovering from surgery, radiation, all that stuff. And I'll get to retire again. Yay. But for now, I'm back in the company that I created, and my experience now is a testament to the transformation because I'm not grumpy. I'm leading from a place of joy and love. I'm able to solutionize the hell out of everything. I'm doing it with joy. I'm not stressed out. I'm able to be people's hero in a way that authentically aligns with who I am on the inside. And I am finally capable of being the tranquil, balanced leader I always wanted to be as a result of this massive work that I've done. And this is, to me, this is like, well, if I ever needed proof, this is it.
Right. And I would say, and I know you work with a lot of, women executives, but I would say that, most of us who have been or are still in very high leadership positions would be envious of that dialogue that we've just had, right? Because, we generally, as women, show up as strong so we can hang on in a male dominated world, not show softness, which sometimes can be equated to weakness. And so if you said to women who are in this position, who are showing up that way, where it's just, I'm not going to bring all of myself to this work, what would be your biggest sort of contribution to them for showing up differently?
So the biggest contribution is honestly going to vary per woman,
Right.
depending on her approach. But a lot of it is the surprising notion that when you embrace the very things that you fear will make you weaker, it turns out those are the very things that make you stronger, better, and help you to finally ascend into this dream expression of yourself that you've always wanted. Perhaps it is being a better leader, one that you're really proud of being. Maybe it's a better leader where you can sell more stuff. Maybe you can reach higher levels of income. Maybe you can inspire more people to want to be part of your mission. Maybe you can actually develop your own exit plan and retire because you're able to build systems and pathways to create that possibility for yourself. But it's the transformation and the difference. And this is probably one of the hardest things that I work with people on, is that acceptance and the willingness to like let go of the side of the pool. It's like it's okay. It's okay. Like white knuckle treatment on the let go, let go. It's like you can be soft without being weak. You can be kind without being trampled on. You can be firm without being a bitch. You can be strong without being a bully. You can do all of these things. And, I did this. A lot of women do this. They go from either really just like passive to aggressive,
Right.
not bothering to take a moment and just hang out and assertive for a while.
Mhm.
And it's really like going from way too feminine to way too masculine. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Can we just please acknowledge the yin and the yang and have the hyper, masculine with the hyper feminine come together and create this perfect harmony of energy so you can truly be the most incredible leader? Because that's the thing about all these women. Like you spend time with them, I spend time with them. What is it? leadership in the home, leadership in the family, leadership in the community, and leadership in the business. It is 360-degree leadership. And in order for this incredible woman to sometimes punch out, she needs to be vulnerable enough to allow others to actually drive sometimes.
I'm raising my hand too.
Yeah.
Actually, I moved after I retired. I actually found myself moving full on into that balanced state, and it's been such a gift. I must say, I would love to have been able to bring that more completely to the last couple of years of my 30 in the military, because I showed up very well. But now the levels that I experience are so far beyond what I could access before that I'd love to give more of that now. And I'm retired and not going back. So
Yeah. Well, look at you. You're rediscovering what it means to be fun, have a sense of humor, and
yeah.
like really just be playful, which I think is another thing that as executive women, as powerful leaders, we don't give ourselves permission to be playful, to be feminine, to be soft, to be vulnerable, to actually need things and not be titans of the universe.
It's okay to let people around us be our heroes.
It is. And it's really awesome once you can actually do it. Like the first time you're like, I just remember like the first time I let my husband like actually do stuff for me. I'm like, are you doing that right? Make sure you do this and that. It's like, stop it. Let him drive.
Exactly.
And like the surrender wasn't entirely surrendering. I was like, I'm going to still control this, but I'm surrendering. No, really, I am. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
So it takes practice, it takes courage, it takes kindness to ourselves to almost even just have the conversation like you and I are having and just laugh about it and be like, wow, yeah, I love to control stuff. Yeah. And it's okay that I don't sometimes. And turns out I suck at fun, but I'm getting better.
Exactly. Well, let's look at presence, because I think that presence is one of the biggest things that we're lacking in our modern day 24/7
Oh,
go
absolutely.
world, right? The attention spans are this big and getting smaller. And
And we've got shiny objects to distract us.
we're getting actually more aware that those who are with us or ourselves are not truly present, right? How many things distract us from this connection where I'm only with you. I'm not in my head going to my appointments or remembering what I forgot to do for someone, right? So
Yeah.
how does presence in the 6 habits kind of show up? And then is there a really simple, ideal way to cultivate more presence?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so presence, I love this particular habit because it's actually the one in full transparency. This is me being vulnerable. Take notes. I have not fully mastered this one, and it's okay. I'm still actively working on it, and I'm excited to do it. It's fun, and I love learning. So you can do this too. The thing about presence is it's choosing this moment. I do have stuff going on later today, but that doesn't matter right now. The only thing that matters right now is you, this conversation, and how fun this is, and that's it. So there's a process in my book, the 1 2 3 knockout, which is basically the art of redirection, which is something that you and I talked about before we hit record, which is really giving ourselves a better state to live in. But it's so important for us to, number one, find the value in even being present at all. Like if we
Mm,
don't actually see that there's any value in it, we're not going to do it. That's
right.
that's basically anything, right? So I'll briefly describe the 1 2 3 knockout to you. It's 3 words: destructive, instructive, constructive.
Okay.
So very simple. And if nobody, if nobody takes away anything more than just those 3 words, you're still going to take away a lifetime tool that can change your life. So first, you have to hear yourself, catch yourself, see yourself, and just be like, wow, oh, I'm hanging out with my kids right now. Oh, I'm not present. Put your phone down. So catching yourself is identifying the destructive thought. And then the instructive thought is you being your own internal coach and being like, wow, my kids are only going to be little once. And this particular moment, they really want to be with their mom right now. And I might be able to benefit from this. So this is you talking to yourself as a coach. It's like, maybe you get something out of putting your phone down. Is Facebook really that important right now? Can the email wait? So then the constructive is the new approach of I am present. I am choosing presence with my children, my
Yes.
work, my client, anyone, right? And it's the conscious process of redirection. So a big fan of repetition right here. I love to practice this 1, 2, 3 knockout in every aspect of my life. Every time I catch myself doing something that is not serving me,
Mm.
identify the destructive, immediately coach myself with the instructive and then redirect. And sometimes it's telling the truth in advance. If I don't think I'm good at something and I'm like, oh, I suck at this. No, speaking to yourself like that is not okay. I'm great at this. Yes, I'm great at this. Even if I'm
Yes.
not yet, telling
Yes.
the truth in advance is okay. So the presence thing is huge. And the thing is, we miss out and we rob ourselves of incredible joy when we are not present. We miss our children growing up. And as strong, powerful women, the thing that is really frustrating is having to serve all the masters, run the company, run the family, take care of the aging parents, take care of the children, and be the provider and do all the things and keep the house clean and go to soccer practice and blah, 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 blah.
I'm exhausted.
Right? I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
and why are you doing this? You're doing this because you love these people and all these things, but you yourself are missing out. And by the way, they are missing out on you. And it's actually okay if you take a minute, stop twirling the heavens, and just let things be and just perhaps return to play like you and I are spending our time to relearn how to do. But our lives get richer when we can choose this moment and rediscover the whole point of being alive, which is living. If we're constantly distracted by the gotta do's, we're
Right.
not having any fun with the wanna do's.
Yeah, and it is so important. And I think right now more accessible than in the past where we weren't in sort of a forced situation. Right. To me, this current timeline gives us the opportunity to be a little uncomfortable, right? And then really contemplate what is it that maybe that isn't empowering me, and shall I choose to do it differently? And if it's yes, then right, a strategy for that. And I love this three-part strategy because the universe, the experience here works on construction and deconstruction. I mean, it's basically right. Some things are growing, some things are closing out. And as we realize that, we can look at this simple tool and we begin to tie the micro to the macro and move into more of complex systems thinking, where it's not this linear here to here to here with missing everything else that's around us that can bring us joy and can bring us this. I loved that you said rich way of living and being, because what I watch is, as we have this new level of presence and then a greater awareness, we're moving from this I-centric nature of it's all about me and what am I getting out of this, and to this we-centric unity of I get to benefit and you get to benefit. And how beautiful is it that there's this reciprocal exchange, not in what are you going to do for me, and then I'll figure out how to maybe give something back to you.
Yeah, and you've given me this much, so I will only give you this much in return. And it's transactional. And I have to tell you, this has been one of the best parts about our conversation is just the mutual acknowledgement of like the externalization that both of us used
Right.
to live in, of success is all this stuff outside of me and I need to be a certain way and I. Meanwhile, it's all to mask a perception of emptiness, of something that appears to be missing within us, which is something I used to go through. I have no shame in admitting this. I'll tell you exactly what I went through. I achieved great success, lots of money, lots of vacations, all the material success I could ever want, and then some, but all because I had this emptiness and this internal self loathing because I never felt like I was enough,
Right.
which is crazy. So when you don't feel like you are enough, you can never have enough, which meant that, and I don't say this with pride, but I just state this because it's useful. I had two, shit you not, two full walk in closets full of clothes. Is that really necessary? No, it's not. I did that because I constantly needed. And it's amazing. Once I was able to like actually internalize my joy, my success, I was like, whoa, I think I'm going to go Marie Kondo on my whole life. I don't need all this stuff because
Yeah.
I have an unlimited fountain of everything I ever wanted right in here.
Oh, thank goodness, right? Because I've gone through the same thing. Accomplished many things earlier than most people, and thought that I was. It's interesting. On one hand, thought that I was special and knew more than those around me, but on the other hand, didn't feel at all successful inside, and so there was that constant proving to myself and to the world that
Yes,
I was
prove it.
the best, right? I was the best. And I didn't feel that at all, even with the constant
It was a quest
demonstration
for
of it.
validation that you were denying yourself.
And it's interesting you brought up the external versus the internal, and I wonder, in your experience. So for me, everything was extrinsically motivated. So it was the house, it was the cars, it was the best dinner parties, it was the
Those two.
promotions, right? The medals, the things that showed everyone around me that I was valuable
You
or
were
whatever.
accumulating trophies to show
Where
the world, say, see, I've done it.
and as I moved more into greater awareness and was able to presence more with myself and with my environment, I realized I could no longer drive myself through extrinsic motivators. It had all dropped away, and now it was intrinsically motivated, but I didn't know how to do it. I mean, because my whole life I was striving for something out there, and now all of a sudden it realigns and goes, wait a minute, that's no longer going to drive me. And so I went through a transition period where I didn't really know how to motivate and inspire myself because the old way had dropped away. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
Okay, first, I love that you stated that and you were vulnerable enough to share that. I think that it's huge that we acknowledge that we go through that. I went through that too. And I think a lot of people go through that. When you have the epiphany that, oh, it's not outside of me, it's inside of me, but you don't have the information to supply you with the tools to do something with your epiphany, it's maddening.
It is.
That's why I wrote my book, because I had the epiphany and I was like, well, now what? And I was, type A entrepreneur. I was like, well, I need a formula and I need a process and I need answers.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
honestly, I'm going to say this. I love me, but sometimes I have to roll my eyes at me. I'm like, girl, could you be any more type A? Really? I mean, it's just an amusing thing at this point. But like that for me is why I started to do this, because I needed a process. I needed something that I could predictably rely on, that was Laura proof, that was stubborn human proof, that will succeed and help me get where I want to go despite myself. And I can't emphasize that point enough, despite myself, because I'm like, no, I did a week of this. I'm good. I'm healed now. Like going to the gym once and pumping iron exactly once. Now do I look like, a supermodel? No, I don't. It takes practice. You have to like work out the muscles. So I changed my own life so radically through just my own research that I realized, well, I can't sit on this secret that could set so many others free and give them the liberty, life, richness, and joy that I finally found. So now I get to share that, help others with it, because nothing honestly sucks more than finally having the epiphany, getting the invitation to hey, ta-da, it's not all about external stuff. You're free.
Right.
Not having the now what information to go with the epiphany sucks. So
Well, and
that's
I am so grateful that you did this for yourself, and that also benefits us. And I have to tell all of you listening, it's really an incredible book. It's simple, it's funny. We get to laugh at ourselves through it. The most important part is the strategies work, and they're so simple that you're not going, okay, I can't remember that step. And so you're gathering back your energetic bandwidth so that you can take all of the places of disempowerment in your life and shift them over into the things that you've always wanted to do, that you simply don't have enough time or energy to actually inhabit. And so I just love, love what you've done. So the very cool thing, everybody, is that Laura has gifted us. She's gifted us her book, and here's the URL. It'll also be in the show notes, but it's the sixhabits.com/appear on. And I'm going to tell you, even if you get it and then you do just look at one habit a week and then begin to implement that habit. Although you have a beautiful 90-day program. So could you share a little, I'm not sure from a timing perspective, how long we've been on. I can't see the ticker, but
36 minutes.
could you please share with us a little more about the process and how people can, beyond reading the book, can do a deeper dive into it if they'd like?
I would love to. Thank you. The way that you're going to see the most transformation in your own life, no matter what you do, is just to do the work. And that applies to no matter what it is. Either go to the gym, eat right, or heal your relationship with yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to do the work. So the recommended approach to this is, please receive my gift, read the book. Just read the book. And like Mikra said, don't necessarily read it all in one go. Please take it a week at a time. Take your time with the book. You read the book and you'll notice there is an invitation in every single chapter for you to go online to get more free stuff, to actually begin this awareness journey so you can start to take inventory of where you are. This is all free. So please do it. This is my gift to you. I used to have the tiny goal of affecting 10 million people. Then my new friend here said she wanted to get to like 1 billion people. I'm like, well, fine, I do too. So be part of the billion, and let's change the world together and heal families and all that stuff. But the way that this best works is if you read the book, then you do the exercises as they're prescribed, and they're all available to you for free in the resources section. Then you can take it a step further and really truly begin your mastery journey. So I developed something that is Laura proof, and it's Laura proof, which means it's you proof. You can't fail, because I am the most stubborn human that has ever existed, and I love quitting stuff early. So I started researching failure proofing, habits, and science, and I love science. It's so nerdy and wonderful. So there's a lot of programs out there that will tell you that you need to do my program in 21 days, you'll have a new habit. Guys, 30 days, you'll have a new habit. Also a lie. Science says it's 66 days. And since I'm a person that likes to hedge my bets and I like to succeed no matter what, it is a 90-day program. I did it. My husband did it. My friends did it. My clients have done it. And I've also worked with people one-on-one, and they have done it. So when you do the 90-day program, you will see even greater levels of success. It's extremely affordable. You're able to get it. You get a physical workbook that is mailed to you. You get to do all of the great stuff with it. And then as a level of ascension, if you are an ultra badass warrior that has no room for taking your sweet time with anything, and you want to achieve incredible success early, this is where I can personally work with you. And this is where we figure out your precise mastery map, exactly what it's going to take for you to achieve success your way, perhaps your corporate exit strategy, perhaps your 360-degree life plan that helps you to truly live your dream life, your terms, your way, within the framework of who you are.
And what I love about that, so we also agree with the 90-day minimum, right? Minimum. Our all of our programs are a year, and of course they're 360. But to me, this part that you're bringing to the world is the foundation of all of it. Because if we don't get to the things that are disempowering us, it will reflect across all of the human system and
Absolutely.
impact where we would like to make change the most,
Yeah.
because we don't recognize that it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, and it shows up in different ways.
You're
And so
absolutely
that's where your foundation prepares everyone for, okay, now that I've been empowered through this and I've gotten the foundation laid, my specific goal of X is going to be very easily achievable, because the subconscious things that are behind the scenes informing that are now really in full awareness, and it's going to
absolutely.
be much easier.
Well, you make decisions from a better state of mind when you decide to take on a bigger thing like early retirement or really working with the epigenetic stuff, which, might be a larger endeavor or something maybe a little intimidating. When you actually fortify yourself and your will and you're encouraging yourself, you love yourself unconditionally, you're looking at life through this
Mhm.
lens of incredible appreciation, you're feeling empowered, you're present, you're opted in, you're just like beast mode on all things. You are fully alive on all cylinders, and you no longer want to work on yourself from a place of self loathing and I'm not enough. You work on yourself from a place of how amazing would it be to enhance this?
Yeah.
And how epic would it be if I could work on that and learn this new thing out of excitement and joy,
Right.
right? It's a total shift from what's wrong, let's fix it, to what's right, let's have more of it,
Yes, yes. And
right?
it's interesting because we live that way, right? We haven't always lived that way, but we do live that way. And often when you tell people this, like the other day I was asked on a scale of 1 to 10 where I was and what I was grateful for. And it was super cool because I'm almost always a 10, and it isn't a Pollyanna 10. It's a true 10 because I'm just thrilled to be in this experience with all the people I get to play with and learn with, and just be with. And I was the only 10, right? And that's okay, because not everybody is going to be a 10. But it was interesting to me to ask the question, what is the definition of a 10? People stay away from 10 because it's the very top, and you might be thinking that you're perfect and nobody's perfect. And
But you
yet,
also might answer less than a 10 in the company of others because you don't want to look like the outlier, you don't want to look like you're bragging.
and
But what
for
if you
me,
actually are the 10?
yeah, for me, I just go, I'm that. I'm mostly always that. And I'm so grateful to share that with people, because we all have that capacity. It's
Yeah.
how are we perspecting it? And are we willing to go, okay, well, I might not be a 10 right now. What would it take for me to be a 10? And then is that a challenge, or is it simple of by finding things that bring me joy and inhabiting those things often, right? So
Exactly.
that my state of being has that expression and I feel it, right? So that I know that I can get back to it anytime.
Well, that's really for me why I did all of this, because when I retired, like some things were a 10, some things were a 2, some things were like a 5 in my life. I was like, yeah, no, I would love 10 across the board. 10 health, 10 sleep, 10 sex, 10 friendships, 10 fun.
Right.
Um and when I started this whole journey, I was like, "Oh, so that's what 10 feels like. Hell yeah, I want more of that." And it's
Yeah.
nice because, like, once you actually do this work and face yourself and lean in, I mean, you know this, it gets addictive. You're like, "Oh my god, that's amazing. I want more. I want
And
more."
and
And time
because
is no longer good enough, as if it ever was, right? But we're not willing to settle anymore for the lower numbers. Like, "No, no, no. I know what great feels like. Uh-uh."
And I think that's in part because we're achieving new levels that we haven't achieved before. And we go, wow, okay, if that's available, then I know that there's more available and more available. And it's not about seeking anymore, right? It's simply about having the experience of it because we know that we are limitless in nature. And it's simply, okay, how do we get more and more of that limitless nature to express as often as we would like because we're choosing it, right? And that's where epigenetics comes in to create new and new expressions. And then, right, where do we go ultimately? Wherever we want to go. And that's pretty cool to know.
Adventure. What is adventure? It's the pursuit of new, uncharted fun. And like, why does science even exist? Science exists because human beings are curious and we want to understand and we love to learn. And adventure is that. But if you can approach life instead of I'm running from, but instead exuberantly running toward,
Right.
that changes everything.
It does. And it's flipping the lens. And when that lens flips, you know it. And you go, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. And actually, the thing that happens is you actually start to look at the people that you love differently and you start to see how much they need more love, more joy, more adventure, more exuberance. And you show up better with like more of your own like generous like love to give, and you end up like, this is the virus I want to spread.
Me
It's
too.
the virus of joy and adventure and like doing stuff because it's awesome. That's it.
We can. And
Yes.
so I think that's our invitation to everyone is, right? Take Lauren's gift, receive her gift, read it, implement some whatever you want, one little tiny thing. And then you'll know how powerful it is, and you'll just keep doing it, and it will become an automated process in your being that you don't have to think about. It just simply happens. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. I just love, love, love that we've been able to have this conversation. And I think what we'll do is we'll do a 90-day exploration, and then we'll come back and talk about the beautiful findings from that exploration. I think that would be super fun.
Let's do it. I'm down. Let's
Okay,
adventure.
so let me pop up. Laura also has her own personal branding website, and I know that you work with a few people a year. So if anybody has interest in what Laura is doing on the private coaching side, they'll find everything there, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then they can reach out. And so I'll put back this free book offer and free
Grab the book, you will
resources.
love it. It's
Yeah.
designed to be simple, easy. It's not heavy reading. It's not super fluffy, religious, spiritual stuff. It's literally just practical information, which us type A boss babes really love, in, I hope, a somewhat amusing wrapper.
Oh, for sure, funny. And I'm not the funny person. I was telling Laura that I'm excited to open the kind of funny aspect of my brain, and she's really good at that. So even in our conversations, I'm getting more of an idea of what fun equals. My brain didn't have it for the longest time. So thanks for that.
Hey, no
And
problem. I do what I can. It's kind of like a one-woman comedy show brought to your doorstep.
right? And you enjoy Maui. She sent me a picture yesterday, and it was the most stunning picture. I said, I'm in Austin, Texas, and I said, I super want to fly over there. So as soon as COVID lifts its big travel restrictions, I'm visiting.
Yes, and we're going to hang out with turtles and fish and all kinds of awesome stuff.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Love you. Mwah.
Love you
See
more.
you soon.